What's up, guys? Didn't do a video in 2 days, I think since Monday on this day here. I said, look, you can't ignore that we closed the high of day, ultra short term bullish, but obviously, short term, medium term, long term bearish. I don't believe in these markets. I think the market should be at new lows. I think it's coming. So, not like I went out and bought stocks, general stocks anyway. But anyway, as you can see, next day we climbed a little higher, although we closed pretty much unchanged. And then today, very bearish candle, by the way, we tested the horizontal resistance. Perfect, very easy. Obviously, it was the last high of this area. We opened there and closed much lower. It wasn't the ugliest day, no indice was down 1%, but still, you can tell this is a bearish engulfing. For me, we're going to test the bottom of this range. Now, there's news every day. Tomorrow, there's not much news actually, but today we had a bit of news. We have CPI, for example, some FOMC minutes coming out. The news for me, I mean, it matters because it will instantly move the markets, of course, and it could tip something in a particular direction and just shift momentum a little bit and interrupt charts. But ultimately, what's supposed to happen will happen, and news is secondary to price action. So for me, we have bearish engulfing. We'll be testing the low. You can tell why this is obviously support. Just to make it more obvious, I could move this here. You can see why now. So I think we'll test the bottom of this range regardless of news tomorrow. And what do I think more medium and long term? We go all the way back down, retest this descending line at some point, maybe bounce, then back down here, and then lower, 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 ciao. That's what I think. But anyway, for now, we're going to test 405, let's say 60 on the S&P. Nasdaq, similar sort of thing. We didn't clear this resistance, the high of day for these candles, never even got to this upper horizontal. Nasdaq's been underperforming actually, and it was outperforming for a bit. So a bit like the Dow Jones a while ago. But anyway, here you can see we've already tested support, closed very, very close to support, worst close in a while. So we'll go lower. Where do we go next? Well, ultimately the ascending support, this white line already in place. Maybe we fill this gap, then we bounce one day and then go back down here. I don't care. We're going to go lower. We probably will fill the gap actually as the S&P goes down and tests this support. That will probably mean a lower move percentage wise than the Nasdaq, but it's been doing that anyway. I mean, look, it was down twice as much as the S&P in percentage terms. So I'm not even going to bother doing the percentage moves. Sort of you can see it happening. So I think we'll go lower. Dow Jones, a little fake breakout. You can see some resistance in the wicks here, closing at prior resistance, acting as support. So Dow Jones is, probably the most bullish of the three so far. But sorry, S&P and Nasdaq will go lower. So the Dow Jones will probably come and retest this support zone. That's what I think. But the trend lines seem to be working. I mean, it totally makes sense, right? Price resistance becomes support. So it's good to see the trend lines working. The Russell has been the weakest one. And, even though despite this strong move here, I said, look, on this day, the Russell was up 1%, whilst the others weren't up that much. I said, even though the Russell's strong, it's still the weakest one. It has a lot of work to do. It's got to take out this resistance. I haven't touched the lines in 1 or 2 days. You can see today again, a bit like the others, it didn't actually didn't tag this resistance, but opened near it. And you can see we never even ventured higher. The open was pretty much the high, closed totally below the low of day of the previous day. This is just bearish engulfing. So a bit like the others, we're going to tag the bottom. So let's say 172.4 on the Russell. So test price support basically. So we've done the whole zone. We tested the high, and now we're going to test the low, just like the others. And ultimately, the Russell for me is the easiest one. It's the weakest one. It's the one that, for me, really, I'm watching the KRE in the Russell, and for me, the KRE. We'll get to this in a second, but very weak. Down goes the Russell. The Russell will drag the others, but to be honest, the others also are closing quite ugly. So I think they'll drag each other down tomorrow, regardless of the news. But still, it's all about the close, and you should respect the news at least short term, in real time anyway. So those are the markets. Let's look at the VIX very quickly. I shouldn't even have clicked on it. I mean, what is the VIX doing here? What is the VIX doing here? got to clear this little resistance. I shouldn't even be legitimizing the VIX by even spending one moment doing a trend line, but for me, the VIX is just going to wake up and run. I just feel it. I feel the markets will go down. The VIX will start to close above this 20. And then once it does, let's see, this trend line is no longer relevant. Let's see, but it should be in the mid 20s, high 20s, especially on the next flush. Anyway, let's look at the banking stock. So XLF, look at that, a bit of a fake out, a bit like the Dow Jones. So probably, I mean, market's going down, banking stocks going down. You can't expect the XLF to have a strong day. And this is despite a nice close a day prior. So for me, we're just going to test the bottom of the range down here. Why am I so sure we're going to do that? Well, because of the KRE, which I'll get to in a second. But look at the KBE, which isn't as small and regional as the KRE. This is supposedly the bigger banking stocks. Look at this. We tagged, perfect technicals, by the way. We tagged the descending, close, also bearish engulfing. A bit like a lot of the other charts we've already looked at, we're going to probably test the next support zone down here. I really don't think we're going to hang around here. I think we're going to be testing 35, 30-ish, let's say, on the KBE, and look at the KRE. Very similar, except we're going to be testing 41.30, 41.40, whatever, tomorrow. We're probably going to close above support, giving it one more day. Why not a Friday? Why not a weekly ugly candle close? And I reckon we'll close below 41. So I think we touch the absolute low tomorrow, and then Friday below 41. And what does that mean for everything else, for all the markets? Well, it means the KBE will be testing the lows on Friday, but at least being down here at the 35 zone. The XLF will start looking weak and closing below 31-ish and starting to, look like it's going to test its lows next week. The Russell's going to start, a bit like the XLF, it's going to be closing below this support zone, which means we're testing absolute lows next week. And then all these boys are going to start dragging down to the next support zone. This will be testing its ascending, and the S&P probably going to look like it's going to test its descending also, this one here. At which point everything will look different. So for me, again, same thing. KRE, watch the KRE and watch the Russell. For me, bearish. I'm bearish, medium term, long term, short term also. Sometimes for 1 or 2 days, you can expect a big bounce, but let's just be sold into. I don't know who's buying stocks really. Yeah, so that's my take. Now let's look at interest rates. Oh, look at the resistance over here. So a lot of resistance up here. Our bonds being bought, our rates being sold into. It's quite strange, because rates going up all of a sudden means stocks go up. But, and that used to be the opposite. Rates going up equals stocks going down. It's just now with this, people buying bonds out of fear sort of whipsaws everything and turns everything on its head. For me, you've got resistance on the 1 year. Let's call it 4.8. Keep it simple, keep it technical. The 2 year, wow, look at that. Tag the descending. I haven't touched these lines in 2 days. Perfect. We're going to go lower. And for me, as rates go lower, it means bonds are being bought, and it means the market's down, gold up. That's really the way things are coordinated at the moment. 5 year, very similar, absolutely perfect tagging of the descending line. That is not just a fluke. But look at this, we're going to start testing the lows, and then you'd expect a bit of support, but let's see. 10 year didn't even get to tag it, but obviously everyone's following the same momentum. Watch out with the 10 year though. I've spoken about this. Once we touch this area here, expect some decent support. I really would be surprised if we just went through this and closed below it. That would just be weird because, okay, again, this ascending, I don't trust it as much as I've trusted other ascendings because it's not like it's been touching it constantly on the way. It's just touched it twice right at the beginning. However, we do have this horizontal line, which it's not really plucked out of thin air. You can see it's the sort of low of this area. And we do have these two, I don't know if you really want to, you could do this also, these two little candles here. So for me, this area generally, this zone should be support. So close below if anyone was counting these trend lines as trend lines, well, they're not anymore. So watch, I do expect some support, but I'm just wary of a close below them. 30-year, look at that, tagged it just like the others. It really looks like yields just want to go lower, even though the Fed is going to be raising rates maybe once more. I know today the news is, oh, maybe they're done, but something tells me they'll do one more. But will that even do much? You know, and it's just a vicious circle. They raise rates, then it just becomes worse for the banks. The banks go down, and then bonds all of a sudden get bid, and vicious circle. For me, gold is really the one place to be. I'll get to that later. Okay, so that's how I see rates. Rates just a lot of resistance, especially on the descending. Looks like that completely worked out. So we're nearing some support, but otherwise resistance is just too strong ahead. All right, let's look at the dollar, which has been very interesting. The dollar. Now, I remember on this Monday, look, we closed above descending. I thought, okay, we're going to move up. I was wrong. We went straight back down again. I thought, okay, you know, you're allowed to retest descending, right? That happens. I'd expect a bit of a move up today. And if I made a video yesterday, I would have said, I expect a bit of a move up today, but we didn't get that either. It's just absolute open at high of day, close at low of day. This is just weak. This is weak. And am I allowed to do? Yeah, I suppose you could do that because of this one here. Look, I'll change the descending like this, but for me, this is weak. We're going to go lower. I mean, if you do bounce, I really don't expect a strong bounce, just a one cat, you know, dead cat bounce, not even a strong one, and then back down. Looks like we're testing 100. We're going to have a 100 handle on the DXY. Yes, I do expect it. I mean, it'd be strange to close below this candle. This is the all-time last stand. You don't just ignore it and move and close below. I would expect a small bounce here, but you know, again, you know, even my sort of bounce here, I mean, again, I expect a small bounce here, lower. And what do we get? Do we get a strong bounce and even close above it, which rallies a little bit? Long term, honestly, the whole world is dumping the dollar. It's coordinated. Even Macron was saying, you know, strategic independence from the dollar from the US. Maybe this is it. You know, maybe it's time to go and get a 90 handle. Imagine closing below 100. I mean, gold is pretty much all-time highs in all currencies. It's I expected, you know, looking back several weeks, several months ago, I did expect to move high, but I was saying, you know, there's a lot of resistance here on the dollar. I kept on saying it's not like rates that can make new highs, and rates did make new highs. You know, that's when everything crashed. The dollar's just really, really underperformed. And I know when things absolutely go crazy, people flock to the dollar, but maybe this time it's different. Maybe they'll flock to gold. Maybe they'll flock to the yuan or the Swiss franc or Japanese yen, I was going to say, but they're all just trash. Maybe they'll just flock to stocks. I don't know, but it's just the dollar is weaker than I thought, even though I didn't expect the strongest bounce. It's just, yeah, I was surprised that we dropped today. Didn't expect that. And let's see, you know, let's see what happens. I reckon we're going to get a 100 handle. We're going to go below 101 pretty soon. And it's all about what happens if we close below this 100.8, let's say. We could start to lose 100 and get a 99 handle. And honestly, when we get a 99 handle, I haven't even considered it, but there's no real support in sight. Nothing nearby, anyway. I mean, maybe 97, small bounce. Okay, definitely 95. That's a long way down. That's a long way down. So, dollar weak. Euro dollar, look at that closing there. Looks like it was the breakout or at least test. US dollar, Japanese yen failing to bounce. Look at this attempt to rally. A new high, it doesn't even make it. I reckon we'll just have a head and shoulders, like an ascending head and shoulders, you know, this type of a move. Here's one shoulder. Here's the other shoulder. This is the head. And then we just get this sort of move down and then flush back there. I could see that happening. Yeah, in every currency that is attributed to the DXY, you can see, look at that pound closing high. The pound's really bounced a lot from its lows. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, like triple, quadruple breakout. quadruple top, go back down to what, go back to 130. I need to redo my trend lines. I didn't really look at the FXs too much, but anyway, everything's represented in DXY. Pretty weak, and honestly, after today's move, just not impressed. Yeah. And that's after the NFP, right? I thought that would actually give the dollar some strength. The markets weren't open on that Friday, but on the Monday, not much. So, yeah, DXY, any strength is being sold into. All right, let's move to commodities. Copper. Copper keeps testing this descending. What I think is going to happen is we're going to, and I said it before, we're going to close above the descending at some point. I thought it was going to happen here. It didn't. Fair enough. We tested 4 or 5 times. So we have to go back down again. I wasn't sure we were going to test the absolute support down here, but we're retesting. I reckon, well, especially if the DXY goes to 100.8 or lower, definitely we're going to have a copper up here. I think copper's going to go up here. It needs to match its metal brothers. But sometimes, you know, people trade copper the way they trade them, like the markets is the barometer for copper or vice versa. So if the markets go down, what does copper do? Probably not going to go up as much as gold and silver, which has currently been the case, right? Copper is definitely underperforming gold and silver. But I do think we're going to close above descending resistance, and I do think we're going to get to 430. So today was a nice step in that direction. Natural gas, this one is just sort of that. This one is annoying. I mean, nice strong bounce. I wanted it to drop to buy into it, bought into it twice. My average is a bit high from where we are. I thought, look, it better bounce soon because we're spending too long down here. And then we had this red candle. I thought, oh, that looks pretty bad. We're probably going to go lower. Next day, because this was that market close Friday, bam, engulfing candle, follow through. And then today, pretty much following the markets the last 3 days. Massive red, not the most bearish engulfing, but still, it better hold this 2 point whatever, 2.05 to 2.10 zone. Otherwise, we're going to go lower. But still, I would have expected a bit more follow through on natural gas. I'm just going to let it trade out. I mean, play out. Sorry, I've got my little 2 entries around here. It's so close to my entry. I feel like I'm basically flat. So let it go lower, and then I'll buy more. Very disciplined. I know to leave some space, especially in this one. This is called the Widowmaker, if I'm not mistaken. So you got to watch out. This one can really screw you. It's already gone down way too much. I think a lot of people have died on the way down here. So just let it play out. But I would have expected a move higher by now. And also I would have expected a move low back on this day here. So let it play out. Oil, this one is acting the way I thought. So, you know, we bounced on this nice long-term ascending. That was beautiful. I didn't expect a complete move up to the 80s, but that was by the news. I mean, that was due to the news where it was coordinated cut. So that was a $5 increase. So I'm pretty happy with this call of a nice strong bounce from here. The news helped it to the 80s, and I said, look, it's more likely to go higher. I said any drop here will be bought into because it's, you know, geopolitical supply demand move. So any drop down here will be bought into. I mean, you know, there's a reason it just went up crazy. It's because the supply and demand, global coordinated supply and demand support to this price. So we went sideways and bam, we go higher. I did say, look, a close above 83 does it for me. I think we're going to go to 93, you know, straight to this resistance. So I'll just let that happen. Can we have some drops on the way? Yeah, sure. Does it matter? No. I reckon we'll continue actually for a few days, maybe get to 87, come back down, back test this breakout, right? It's completely normal. If you have a move higher and then a drop, you know, relax. It's just checking and making sure. So, but for me, ultimately, destination is over here. And yeah, at that point, you can start to draw this line here. So let's see, 93, we should start to get to these 2 trend lines, right? The horizontal resistance and the descending. Depends how long it takes, you know, obviously. So oil bullish, medium to long term, even short term actually, just bullish. Uranium, this one is tough. I mean, it's I want it to drop because I want to buy into it. I'm one of those people. I missed the boat, but the boat has come back to the dock, and it could actually flush this ascending support. I don't want to say that I think it's going to happen, because I hope it happens, but it hasn't been the strongest move up. So far it's held a bit like this period here. It's been stronger than this period because it was higher lows each time. But still, look at here when we sort of bounced on the third time, we really did move up. Here we've it's lower highs too. So there's a strong wedge. I mean, I could try and be very, very zoomed in about it, just to see if this, I mean, that's too much. I don't think that really counts, actually. That could give you a false signal. Yeah, no, that would be a false signal. But let's see. I think what ultimately it really has to hold is 1880, this support zone. If we start to see candles moving lower and then there's a close below these two here, then we have to test this zone, and then it's probably got 1 or 2 days to bounce from it. Otherwise, we're going to start closing below the ascending and going lower. On the upside, yeah, this horizontal line makes sense. If it moves higher, to be honest, this one wouldn't make sense at this point. So I think I'll just leave these trend lines in, and I'll just wait for the chart to tell me. I'm not going to bother guessing. I don't need to guess. That's what the chart's for. So I'm looking for a close below this to really be convinced of a stronger move lower, and then I have to start choosing some uranium stocks to start buying. Probably start with the seniors and end with the juniors if we keep going lower. Otherwise, if we close above this horizontal, let's call it 2050, just be sure, then we could start testing the upper zone of this descending. So yeah, I'll let the chart do the talking. That's uranium. Now gold and silver. All eyes on gold and silver. Beautiful back test so far, held very well, very well. And then look at that. 2 days after back testing, we're testing the highs. We're at 2030 sort of zone, at least on the high of day. Closed above 2000. I think we're just waiting for some news. Honestly, if we close above this 20, let's say 33, the high of the last period, I don't see why on earth we shouldn't be testing the high. 2070, 2080, whatever you want to call it. And that can be done after 1 or 2 days. Amazing. On the way down, well, we've got the previous zones, just the horizontal one. In fact, the descending is now, it's done its job. So that was useful for that. This trend line 2000, we remember 2000, it's a nice number. I'm just going to move that up. Nice and simple. Those are all the trend lines I think we need for now. Yeah, let's see what happens. Any day now we could close. Tomorrow we could close above 2030, or we could close below whatever this is, let's say 1980. So we've got a $50 range. Just let it happen. Let it happen. Very exciting stuff. I mean, this so far, when we're hanging around 2000, closing above 2000 more and more often, it's looking more and more like a launch pad rather than a ceiling. Silver outperforming gold every day. Today too, look at that total new high. That's why you don't have to fear gold when you've got silver acting like this. This back test down here never happened. Obviously, I spoke about that during, when gold did a back test. I knew this silver was just sideways, nothing crazy. So very strong. It had been outperforming gold for a while. It just continues to do so. Just what you want for further bullish sentiment. Next test is quite simply 26. We could do it tomorrow very easily. If we close above 26, next test 27, then 28. Keep it simple, but that's actually the truth. Then maybe 28.5, and then a run to 30. Obviously, we'll talk before that happens, but this could start to squeeze. I think people are also talking about May Day, and May the 1st is Silver Squeeze Day. Last time they coordinated a squeeze day, it happened Sunday night, I remember, and I sold into it. And that was the best thing I'd ever done, to be honest, because it went back down again. It failed, but I actually added to silver stocks today. I rarely ever buy the top, but I thought, look, I'll get into that in a second, but silver very strong, and I'm starting to think that this is the real move. This is the one. So I just, all the stars are aligned for gold and silver. There's no way to really say that now is not a better time than any other moment for gold and silver. I mean, everything, the dollar, geopolitics, uh, supply demand, macroeconomics, debt, interest rates, central banks, coordinated dump of the dollar, the East, whatever. I mean, everything really is in favor of gold and silver, and silver is seriously underpriced and it's outperforming. So anyway, upside, like I said, we've got all those 26, 27, 28, 28, 50. Downside, well, prior support. So let's say, and prior resistance, let's say 24.5-ish. Also 24.7. So around 24.5 or a bit higher. If we go lower, then it'll be the descending back test. If we go lower than that, then we'll have to see. I don't think this would be the strongest support zone, but I think I can start deleting some of these. I'll leave it in anyway. But yeah, let's see what happens. So far, silver just very strong every day. So I think we could test 26 tomorrow. Let's look at the miners. Miners, green. Nice green day, right? The markets were red. The miners are green. So we're still following the metals rather than the market. We're still slightly inverse to the banks. I mean, I remember looking at them a lot more closer, last 2-3 weeks, and I feel like gold and silver are not acting as inversely to the markets as they were before, but they still are, right? They're green, markets are red, GDX and GDXJ are green, markets and banks are red, but still, I just feel like they're losing a little bit of that. But similarly, when the stocks go up, I saw the miners also go up. So if overall you're going up, no matter what, that's still very bullish. And the miners a bit like silver and gold, definitely not at all-time highs. All right, and if you look at GDXJ, definitely not at all-time highs. So yeah, the upside, I haven't changed any of the trend lines. I think, well, let's start with GDX. I see, yeah, very simple, 36. And now it's only 3.5%, so we could do that tomorrow, right? If silver hits 26, you could see GDX hitting 36, no problem with that. GDXJ, quite a bit of a bigger move required, but 5% is easily doable in one day, especially got the GDX up 3.5%. I could easily imagine the GDXJ up being 5.5%, and it equates to the same sort of area. You can tell here from the candlesticks that it's the exact same area. So and on the way back down, yeah, I think these zones still count. You could maybe move this one up a little bit, but whatever. I'll make an average between the two, let's say around this area. So GDXJ, maybe a little higher than 40, you could say support is just above 40. GDX, maybe this support here, let's say 33.5-ish, give or take. Yeah, 33.5. And then if we go lower, then let's see what's happening. Let's see why it's happening. Let's see what the dollar's doing. I'll do another video by then, but I don't really want to start building too many support zones or rearranging them. I'll do that when it's required. I mean, I could delete some of these. I do not see the GDXs going down too much, especially I don't see GDX going below 27. I mean, for that to happen, you'd need just the only thing I can see doing that is just a massive liquidity event where people are just selling everything, even the best things, because they need cash immediately. So an absolute freak out crash, circuit breakers, S&P down 6% pre-market one of those days, then yeah, GDX is down 11%. But otherwise, I think the trend is your friend. I mean, the thing is, yeah, I bought some miners today, some silver miners, some underperforming silver miners that I think are good. I mean, I would never normally buy a chart that's like this. It's just, I've sold them well, bought them back well. I'm all in profit, so I'm buying back a little bit at a higher price. But I mean, even if it becomes a losing trade overall, I'm still winning. And to be honest, I bought it because I think it's going to go higher. Which ones did I buy? I bought Discovery, which I sold, by the way, a little higher. I just wanted to buy it back here at 90, and in the end, I start buying at 97.50. So much higher than where I wanted to buy it back. I just thought, look at this. You know where silver is. You know where the GDXJ is. We've covered it. Discovery, for me, is one of the best silver miners out there. I mean, if silver and the miners go up, This is going to scream higher, 100% easy, easy. Long term, way more. If it flops and everything goes lower, okay, we go back down to 72. That's fine. I didn't go too crazy. I always allocate, I've got my sort of light, medium, and heavy holding value. And here I went sort of heavy, but if it drops, it automatically becomes medium because the value drops. And I'd love to buy more here. So it's all calculated stuff. But the point is, I did buy more Discovery today. But again, I'm not chasing something that's just gone completely vertical. First Majestic, I bought a little bit more. I sold some basically where we are. I just bought it back. I just thought, nah. Again, out of all the silver stocks, knowing where gold is, and knowing where silver and the miners are and what they can do, I thought, yeah, why not? I'll just buy back my position. CDE also, just technically, silver miner, and it always has a fantastic history of squeezing. I mean, this is always basically the best performer on my list when silver has a crazy day. I can easily see it at 530, maybe even higher. If silver does its thing and starts to run to 30, this thing is going to be straight in the double digits. So what the hell am I doing? Trying to buy back here. I basically bought back where I sold, but I also added a tiny bit more. So I'm heavy in CDE. Fortuna also, zoom out. It's a good stock. I think they had, was it earnings or something today? Whatever, I don't care. Their Segoya mine is going to start producing gold in 1 month. Yes, it's located in Mexico, which is not the best, but I don't care about all that stuff, I'm looking at short-term technicals. Obviously, a lot of this Mexico stuff's being priced in. Everything's being priced into these stocks, good and bad news. I just think this is one of the medium silver stocks that will just squeeze and go straight back up. I can see $5, $6, $7, $8 if silver starts to reach 30. So yeah, I bought some back, and you can see this is a trend line. So I sold a little bit here, but I probably, a bit like CD, I bought back what I sold and probably added a bit on top. It's all calculated. If it goes back down, it's manageable stuff easily. But yeah, I bought the high. I bought the breakout to expect, which is really the opposite of what I usually do. That's what I bought. The others I've been trimming on the way I left because they're more seniors. And to be honest, if I'm going to be exposed for some aggressive upsides, precious metal moves, might as well be the silver juniors or the little silver aggressive ones. So I also bought this one stock. Don't ask me why. US Gold Core. I don't know too much about it. It's just I saw it have a great move with silver and gold recently. I just saw it come back down. So I bought basically around just under 5 as my average. I think this will be easy, 50% move. Just this will be a real quick trade because I don't trust it too much or know it. And I'm also looking at a bunch of, and I'm not going to do this today because it's just a Wednesday, but on the weekend, I'm going to go through all of the miners I'm looking at. All right, I'm not completely knowledgeable in all these miners, but I've been watching them for 10 years and I know some, and I'm going to go through everything that I think is worth a look at. So finally, Bitcoin, very quickly, Bitcoin. I did buy some Hive. Did I say that? I bought some Hive the other day. I chased it. It's still a bit higher than where it is. That's an Ethereum miner mainly, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Because of this candle here, although it was actually below 30,000, it's just that it kept going, right? Because markets keep going and Bitcoin never stops. So at the close, it was basically 29,000 at the market close, which is when Hive stops trading. It kept on going. So I was kind of right that there's continuation. Today, a bit sideways. What I'll say about Bitcoin is it's kind of following the markets too. So it's not as opposite to the markets as gold and silver. It's not that sort of rebellious inverse trade as gold and silver is. So what if the Nasdaq goes down with the banks and the Russell tomorrow? Do we just see a complete retrace of the whole pump? I don't care. I mean, I just added to my high because in case Bitcoin really starts to run, I needed a bit more in there to feel like I would really benefit. If it goes back down, it's fine. I'm going to add to it. I got a lot of money on the sidelines, and Bitcoin is one of the ones that I want exposure to when the complete dump is over. I'll leave it there. I tried to run through this quickly. this is probably a 30-minute video. I don't know, but sorry if it is. I just think I think I went through every asset pretty well, pretty detailed. I hope it was of value.